President Biden is arriving back in Dublin after what's being described as a diplomatic toe dip into Northern Ireland. But focusing more on the personal than the political seems safe to say. I mean, there's definitely some diplomacy. For the first time, he's meeting with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on UK soil. It was a coffee meeting, you see it here, with a focus on trade with Europe, on the war in Ukraine. But the focus quickly shifting to the president's ancestral history. Look at this. He's visiting a castle near where his grandparents lived. He's channeling his inner tourist in chief, grabbing a bite at a local restaurant, popping into the town pub. There's reportedly been one minor hiccup on the trip, though. USA Today saying a police document with pretty sensitive security info about the visit was found by a local on the streets of Belfast. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell is with the president. She is traveling with him. Also personal and political for you, Kelly, live for us from Dublin. It was the New York Times with that toe dip analogy into Northern Ireland, and this meeting with Rishi Sunak, 45-minute coffee chat, was sort of quippily described as a bilatte instead of a bilateral. It feels like another instance of how this is, yes, a diplomatic visit, but it is also uniquely and deeply personal for this president. We heard him today. I listened to him repeatedly reference his kids, his grandkids, his family.
And one of the things I was really struck by, Hallie, is the president also took time to not only talk about the Irish roots, which will certainly get a lot of attention on this trip, but he also emphasized that part of his family history is, in fact, British. And that was part of the diplomacy, because in Northern Ireland, part of the United Kingdom, that is a piece of the Biden story they wanted to hear, because there were some concerns that the president might be, in fact, too green in the local parlance, too much associated with the Republic of Ireland. And so he did spend some time today making that link to his own connections and those of the United States with the United Kingdom, with British, with the Scottish people who were a part of our founding fathers and so forth. So there was attention to that, as well as talk about the economic development the United States can bring to Northern Ireland. And then, of course, meeting with the UK Prime Minister, an important relationship. They talked about things that go beyond this visit and the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, which ended the troubles in Ireland, the long civil fighting here, and the battle against Great Britain. And they talked about things like Ukraine and China and concerns that our two nations have. And so it's a relationship that will have an ongoing important effect. But as you pointed out, there is a lot of the personal. And back in the Republic of Ireland, here we're in Dublin, and the president's on his way back here now. There's been a lot of the family ties and the connections. And you see the people of the Republic of Ireland coming out on the streets and seeing the president today. That's been a big part of this. The weather has not been so pleasant. It is colder. I know why my people left, Hallie. It is so cold today. But the spirit of welcoming President Biden has been very, very strong here, with people standing in the rain and in the cold for hours to welcome him. So he is enjoying that piece of his own family history, and the Irish people are welcoming him back. They call him Joe here. A number of people have said to me, you've brought Joe, and I thought they meant one of our colleagues. No, they meant the president. We don't call him that so informally, as you and I both know, but here he's Joe.
Not Joe Martin, Kel. I promise to let you seek shelter in a second, but help us close the loop on this lost police document here, right? This thing that was found by just somebody on the streets of Belfast. Not a sort of kind of a random nugget, but not a security concern, right? At least from the view of the Secret Service.
Right. I spoke with Secret Service today about this. What they believe this was a local law enforcement in Northern Ireland, a police document related to local police that was found on the street, had some names on it. It was turned in, and it might have been part of the planning that local police, this is a very complex kind of security situation where you have local police and so forth. Secret Service has made clear that none of the president's arrangements changed because of it, and that they have great confidence in their partners. They rely on local law enforcement at all different levels when a trip of this magnitude with all these locations are involved. So there was some kind of document, they call it, that was found and turned in, but they don't say that there was any concern with the president. Whenever these things happen, we always talk about it because it does raise the questions, especially because there's been an increased threat level here in recent days. And so that's closing the loop on that piece for you, Hallie.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.